You ever, you ever start thinking about how really screwed up the world is, and maybe how screwed up your personal life is, or maybe just how screwed up your family is, or maybe you know someone who has a screwed up family, or maybe all of the above. And I think maybe if I think about it enough, it'll get me in this mood where I want to do something about it. You know, I'll be motivated to change something. Be motivated to make my life better. Maybe not in the immediate, but maybe in the future. I'll be motivated to say, okay, well, you know what, I'm not going to allow myself to stay in this kind of position. I'm going to rise above these current doldrums, these current situations, and become a better person for it. The problem is, what happens to me is I just get into this mood of not necessarily depressed and not necessarily angry, but maybe the correct word is apathetic. I get into this mood where I think nothing can really change. I get into this mood and start to think that people like George Carlin or Bill Hicks were correct when they said, the world is essentially screwed up and there's nothing we can do about it, and the best thing you can do is just watch your fellow human beings suffering for the entertainment until you die and are buried in the earth and maggots start eating at your flesh. That's the way, certainly, that George Carlin looked at it. And there are days where that's tempting. There are days where that's very tempting. Very tempting indeed. And then I get other moments where I'm passionate about something, in politics or on the topic of religion. I get passionate, or on the topic of human rights and human suffering. I get passionate and I'll care. And, and I find myself caring about other people I'm close to, people I know. I care about their suffering. I care about their I care about their discomfort, their sadness, their anger, often for justified reasons. And it frustrates me that I can't be consistent about the way I feel about things. One day, I spend the whole day being passionate about issues, and the other days I just sit here like, the world is kind of, just everything's set up and everything's going to happen a certain way. It's deterministic. The world's gonna be run a certain way, and there's nothing you can ever do to change that. And I'm not one of these conspiracy theorists with there's a certain group of people who secretly run the world. No, I think there's in days like that, I start to think, there's a certain group of people who openly run the world. There's a certain group, and not that they're in a room and they're all making decisions, but the natural order of things tends to lean in their direction favorably. I get this way a lot when I look at the news. You know, look at the news and I see, things like the situation that's going on in Syria right now where civilians are dying because the repressive regime of that government doesn't like the fact that their people are protesting. Or I see things like Iran is close to having a nuclear weapon. Or in North Korea, they won't let some of their citizens back in who've been to Libya because the dictator there, Kim Jong-il, is afraid that if his citizens see if his citizens see what's going on in Libya, then they think, hey, let's have a revolution here. And they so successfully keep their people repressed and uneducated. 1% of the North Korean population even knew that there was a revolution in Libya. 1%. Or I see things like this Herman Cain controversy going on right now, and it reminds me of how hypocritical we all are. Because Republican voters, they don't care about the fact that he's been accused by 4 women now of sexual harassment. They don't care. They ignore it. But when Bill Clinton, a Democrat, was found guilty, proven to have been having an affair, not just sexual harassment, but having an affair, they called for his impeachment and nearly succeeded. So when it's a Democrat having any kind of affair or committing any kind of adultery, deserves you impeachment. But if you're a Republican, it is ignored. But the Democrats did the same thing too. When it was Bill Clinton, they said, oh, it's ignored, it's not a big problem. Now it's Herman Cain. Maybe they like it just because of the fact that it's happening to a Republican, but they still say, oh, he can't get elected. He didn't say that about Bill Clinton. So, it reminds me of how biased we are towards our own mindset or our own group, our own political party, and how much people really don't care if they're being hypocritical. God, I need to stop yawning. I'm hypoxic. People just don't care if they're hypocritical. Even these religious people, they can be hypocrites, and the Bible strongly condemns hypocrisy. But when they're hypocrites, Christians say, well, yeah, doesn't matter. Also seeing on here, Micheal Jackson's doctor, Conrad Murray, has been found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. And the Micheal Jackson fans are like, yes, justice! And then it turns out the maximum of what he can get is just 4 years. 4 years for giving Micheal Jackson, he was like on horse tranquilizers or something. Some kind of thing that you're only supposed to get in surgery. It's blatantly illegal. When it's a celebrity, anything that has to do with celebrities. Ugh. Whenever it has anything to do with celebrities, they never get real, jail time. And people are saying that maybe they just delivered this guilty verdict because they're so afraid that the public will just riot if there's another non-guilty verdict after the whole, woman who may possibly killed her baby daughter. I don't even remember the name of that lady, but yeah. And that just shows, we say, oh, in this country we have justice, Even though we have crime, we also have justice. Justice is served. If the justice system is made up of people, then we never have true justice. Never. We never have true justice because I don't think that human beings are ever really capable of dispensing justice. And really, what is justice? If justice is that the person who killed Micheal Jackson with horse tranquilizers or whatever the hell it was, who cares? The person who killed him gets 4 years in prison. If that's justice, then what's the point? Because it's like, oh yeah, he's gonna be in prison, and it won't even be a real prison for 4 years. If you told a murderer that he could get caught but only serve 4 years, how many people would kill someone? I think a lot. I think more than we would like to acknowledge. I really do. It's kind of that dark side of human nature that also kind of depresses me a lot, because we like to think that we're good people, and at times we can be, but ever lurking under the skin is a monstrous creature that is willing, in all of us, that is willing to kill, that is willing to rape, that is willing to beat, that is willing to inflict harm upon ourselves, that is willing to commit genocide, that is willing to commit mass murder in the name of religion. And we can't deny that that's in all of us. When people see the 9/11 or the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing or some other kind of disaster, Pearl Harbor, what do they always say? They say, oh, I could kill those bastards with my bare hands. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about our ability to, when we are angry, to do pretty much anything we want and think that we're in the right in doing it. And we rarely are. But that's why I don't think there can be true justice. Because our justice is only as good as our intentions. And I think that we've seen pretty often, our intentions are never really good.